5 realities that you need to know about traditional publishing. So we talked about misconceptions of self-publishing. Let's shift into things you need to know about self-publishing. And this is all still we're talking about how to write a book. We're going to get there to the nitty-gritty in just a moment. Okay, number one, the reality of traditional publisher is your publisher will get you some PR. They will get you some placement in stores. They will do what I'm kind of saying as the etc. They'll do some press releases. They'll have some posters and some graphics. They'll get you some online placement in some online stores. They've got access and leverage and years of relationships that you and I will never have. That's true. That's something we need to acknowledge. But at the same time, you still have to market your own book. That's point number two. They are not going to run the play for you. They're going to do certain things on a timeline, and they're not going to market your book forever unless you do something like Huckleberry Finn that really at this point doesn't have to be marketed. Schools are just going to have their students buy that book and read that book every single year when you get to seventh, eighth grade, wherever it is. So if you're going to make this thing go long term, you're going to have to get in there. And I would say you're even going to have to get in there on the early days and start marketing the book. Now, let me pause right here. Let me reference another training that is available for you that is called the Book Launch Timeline. And in that training, okay, the link is down below. You can watch it. You can listen to it. If you look, because you've got access to this video or this audio from some other place, and you think, oh, I don't see it. I don't see it. Okay, it was originally released in Amplify Pro. So if you're in Amplify Pro, you've got access to it. If you don't see it, let me know. I'll give you access to it to where you can look at the book launch timeline that shows you how to market the book while you are writing the book and put all of this together. And you've got to do that whether you self-publish or traditionally publish. Point number three is you might or might not get an advance if you do traditional publishing. Now, I gave you an example above where someone that I know, well-known author, got a $30,000 advance. Well, most people aren't getting $1 million. Most people aren't getting $100,000 for an advance to write a book. The average advance, if you get one at all, is about $10,000 to write a book. Now, you think, how long can you live off of $10,000? That's not a lot of time, not a lot of runway there. So you might or might not get an advance. A lot of people don't get an advance, which will then need to be paid back. And there may be other expenses that you need to incur. Now, let me talk about what paid back means right here. Paid back doesn't necessarily mean that you have got to turn around and write a check back to the publisher if your book doesn't sell. They assume that risk. What I mean by that is, let's say that you get an advance for $10,000. In most cases, they're going to have a profit sharing thing with you. Let's just say it's 50 cents a book, like my friend had. That means the 50 cents a book, they're going to have to recoup that 50 cents a book, 20,000 books sold to recoup $10,000 based off of what your share would be. And then at book number 20,001, you start making 50 cents a book. So you're effectively being given an advance on what would be future royalties. So if you think in terms of, remember that it's not just a payment, it's an advance. It's what you would potentially receive if you sold, like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and give you that. We're gonna take the risk that we think it's gonna sell that many. So we're going to, and they're gonna be real careful about that. You gotta remember, traditional publishers, they are in a business, which is not bad. You know, they have to sell books. And if they don't sell books, they go bankrupt. And if they go bankrupt, no more books. And so it's not bad that they're in business and they have to make money. Their ability to make money does keep this thing going, keeps the machine humming. So that's not a negative. Now, I did say here, there may be other expenses that you incur that you've got to make up for out of that advance. That leads me to number four. yes, you may need to hire help. So they may or may not do your booking. That's all in the contract. They may or may not do your social media, and you may or may not need help for that. That's going to be in the contract. They may or may not do some travel expenses. All of that's going to be in the contract. In other words, what we're saying right here is, okay, the advance isn't just free money. It goes against future sales. And out of that advance, there may be some things that you're expected to pay for. That's why they're giving you that advance. Hey, we're assuming you've got some expenses coming. So we're going to give you some money now to cover some of that. All that's spelled out in the contract. Number 5 is, this is the big one to me. You probably won't own the rights or the intellectual property to that book. Meaning, you might remember what my friend there said. He made 50 cents a book and he wanted to see about creating a course. And the 2 reasons that we started off with to self-publish the book is the message. If you give the message away, you no longer control the message. And the message is the thing. And then this money issue, we're going to talk about that in a moment. You, in most cases, make more by self-publishing your book. So we've talked through 5 realities now of traditional publishing. Okay, your publisher will get you some PR, placement in stores, etc. But number 2, you still have to market your own book. Number 3, you might or might not get an advance, which will need to be paid back, and there may be other expenses that you incur. That's all spelled out in the contract. What I'm saying here is, yes, you may need to hire help or have other expenses. And 5, that's the big one right there. You probably won't own the rights or intellectual property. They are going to have that. So they're going to be the ones that are primarily making the money off the audiobook. You'll get paid some. They're going to primarily make the money off the book. You'll get paid some. They're going to primarily make the money off of this being turned into other things down the line. Now, point D